Hello everyone, this is V again. Thank you for watching. It's great. Got one video out, and before I could even really get started, I already got a question. Well, actually it's a 4 or 5 part question. It's not really on the world building, but it's a good beginning RPG player set of questions. So I'm going to read through them and give the answers that I've come up with. This is from a viewer named vondercoff. He's a subscriber on one of my other channels. You can check out his channel through there, or I believe he may be subscribed on this channel also. He's got some cool stuff on there, so check it out. So let's get to the questions. His first question was, for starters, could you tell someone like me who has only played like 3 times how to get started as playing a character? Okay. First, of course, you need some type of game to be in. That's obvious. So it's, find your group, then you need to decide what type of character you would like to play. And there's really only 4, maybe 5 types of characters, of what they call classes in some games. You got your fighter or a warrior. That's your knights, paladins, barbarians, men for hire, things like that. You have magic users, or mages as they call them. These are your wizards, your sorcerers, things like that, people that deal in arcane magic. That's another type of character. You might want to be a cleric. This is typically, in most games, a priest or servant warrior of a deity, which is a god that you serve. And then you get magical abilities through divine magic, versus like a magician who works the weave of magic, some say, or has the ability to work the essence of magic. Clerics typically don't use edged weapons. A lot of times they use blunt force trauma weapons, maces, staffs, clubs, things like that. And then you have your thief type character. This is your rogues, your sneaky guys, maybe even assassin would be, I guess, maybe a thief slash warrior class, if your game has classes. Now, one example of the clerics I'm not really sure about, because in real life, I would think a Shaolin monk would be considered a cleric, versus, of course they don't use magic. But they use edged weapons, so being that Shaolin Buddhist, I don't think they really believe in a god, it's a concept they believe, so that there may not actually be a cleric, but a type of a warrior. Depends how you look at it. Now, like I said before, the GURPS that I like, there are no classes. You can design your character so that he's a fighter, but maybe your uncle was a accomplished magician and he taught you a few little things. So if you're going to be fighting, you might want to know this. You might want to, so you have that option that you can, fight, and then when you need to, maybe use a little magic. So it's kind of cool like that. You might even, your character may have a little kleptomania here and there that, you're not a thief, but, you've gotten good at thieving because of your desire to do that. Something like that. Let's see now. What are the basics that I need to know when I go and sit down to create and play with my character? Alright. First of all, your dungeon master or game master should explain the mechanics of the particular system you're using. Like in Dungeons & Dragons, you need to explain to you that as you're making your character, if you're a fighter, you have D8 hit points. If you're a magician, I believe it's a D4 hit points. Humans are humans, so again, that's why I kind of like GURPS. You pick what you want your health to be. You decide. You want to have a lot of health, or I'm not going to be in combat, I don't worry. But your game, the guy running the game, or at least the people you're playing with, should explain the mechanics of this to you, so that when you're making your character, what it is that you're setting him up for. If if you're a fighter and you have the ability to choose what your strength level is going to be based on a point system or percentage, then you want to ramp up on strength and possibly dexterity. With dexterity for a thief, he would want a lot. You want intelligence for like a magician or an illusionist, but your dungeon master or game master should explain the mechanics of how it works, so that you're able to design that character well and know how to play him. Now, when you play the character or create the character, you can create them from a movie. You were inspired by the Conan movie. I want a barbarian, or I love the magician from the movie Dragon Slayer, the old guy, he was cool, he's old crotchety, but he knew his shit, stuff like that. Or you could simply say, how am I, if I was going to be a thief, what skills would I need? And so you create the character to function in the game system, and of course they try to survive the best. So that needs to be explained to you before you get in there. How should I choose my character that's right for me? And then what do I do when I sit down to play that particular character? Okay, when you begin to play, this is your time to really give your character life. Say if you're playing a Star Trek type world as a Vulcan, then you would play the role of a Vulcan. You'd try to think logically, not a lot of joking. Wouldn't have much of a sense of humor. Kind of like Spock. And he was really it wasn't the best example of a Vulcan, but that's the one we know and love from that show. A fighter may be played as an overbearing, cocky bastard who thinks way too highly of himself simply because he killed a giant cockroach, And then having that, if his character is supposed to be egotistical and narcissistic, then that's what you play. You don't have a character that you've created and given this backstory to, and say, oh, he's a brave and he just kind of reckless, sometimes charges in, and then the first time you play, there's two orcs coming around a corner, and you're like, oh shit, I better get out of here. But your character's kind of reckless and he charges in, so that's how you play the character. It's like acting. Like I told my daughter last week, is you get this character and you act, It really is acting. I mean, it's fun acting is what it is. And you play the character however you want or design them, within reason. And it's fun like that. I had my buddy Chris from high school. He had a thief, Talos, and he just could not stop himself from stealing jewels. And one time it harmed his character and got him in a lot of trouble and pain. But that was what his character did. And it got the rest of us in a heap of shit. But he played his character, and it was awesome. His character paid the price for getting us in trouble. But it was good. He played it. It didn't matter if it was going to screw us up. He played his character, and that was awesome. Can I not use six-sided dice? Okay, that's in relation to me talking about the dice. In GURPS, six-sided dice is king. That's all you need is 3 or 4 of them. Everything is based off that, six-sided die. But in D&D, there is need for other dice because different charts require different rolls, and different creatures attack different ways, and so you need those different dice. That's how they balance it out. Six-sided die, like I said, GURPS, that'll be fine. But I will admit that when I make charts and say random weather charts or things like that, I do set them up with what I want them to be. I don't necessarily say, well, how many six-sided die? If I got 20 options, I'm rolling a D20. That's just the way I'll do it. So, it depends on the game about the dice. And what will I be taking notes about? Okay. That one I was talking about your ideas for world building. But in a role-playing game, you will need note paper. The dungeon master might tell you, you go over this hill and you pass this way and you travel 2 days, blah, 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 and you'll be there. And you can meet the wizard or whatever. So if you don't write it down, I am not obligated as the game master to give you that information again. Now, say you had eidetic memory, like the kid Sheldon on Big Bang Theory. He sees it, he reads it, he remembers it. If it happened to him, he remembers it. So, in a situation like that, the character can say, what did he tell us again? Because whatever I told him, his character would know. It would be helpful if he wrote it down, but he doesn't have to because he has that mental function. So you might want to write things down. Say, oh, when you get to this place, you'll look for the one-eyed pig tavern. And then nobody can remember, what the hell was the name of that tavern? What was the name of that tavern? We were supposed to look for a table with a gold coin nailed to the bottom right leg. That's where we meet the guy. So if you don't write that stuff down, you go to the tavern, kind of hanging out, and say, what were we supposed to do? Were we supposed to toss a coin somewhere? So that's a good reason to have pen and paper in the games, kind of record things that's happening to you, people you've run into, things like that. So I hope I've answered these questions to your satisfaction. If anybody else has any other ones, send them to me. Like I said, I will make video responses to answer them to the best of my ability. And I appreciate you watching. And next video or two should be actually doing some work. But I was very glad to get these. Thank you very much. And I wanted to answer them as quickly as possible. So thank you, and I will catch you guys on the next video.